Okay, hang on. Here we go. Oh, go. All right.
I think you're live now.
Okay, are we on now? Okay, we're on now, and the software has given me a little bit of something I've never seen before.
Is that Canadian power?
Yeah. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate your being here, and whether you're watching live or after the fact, it's great to have you along. Tonight, we're going to have a really interesting conversation. I know we've got a few topics that I sort of want to dive into with our guest tonight, Philip, KA4KOE. And we're going to get a little bit more into Philip and his background and what he does in the way of ham radio. But first, I'd kind of like to go around the table to find out what people have been up to over the past month since our last stream. I'll throw it over to my friend Chris, Kilo 2, Charlie Juliet Bravo. Hey, Chris, what's going on? Oh, and sorry, just while we do that, Chris, you go ahead, but I'm going to show a screen here and tell us what you've been up to for the past several weeks.
Well, past several weeks since we were on was CQ Worldwide. And this year, I did not get a chance to really operate it all that much. I was on the Friday night, and actually, I was able to work Kazakhstan, which I've never worked.
Wow!
In. Yeah, and
what's the prefix for that one?
Yeah, if you give me an hour, I'll look it up. It's like UL something, I think it was.
Oh yeah, okay.
Right, and then I worked Turkey, which I didn't have actually. So a couple of new countries in there, which is pretty cool for me. That was the Kazakhstan one. I was like, yes, that was pretty neat. So that's really all I had a chance to do with CQ Worldwide. And it was the normal madness on the air that whole weekend. I saw Tracy's video. You're a trooper, man. You went out and did it as a you're on a tent. You're out of your mind.
I was going to ask you where your portable HF video
right here. And also, it came in the mail. This was something that was over the summer. There's a thing called the 13 Colony Special Event, and there's a special event station in all 13 colonies. There's one in another special one in Pensy in Philadelphia. There's one in England, which is kind of funny, and there's one in France. So if you work them all, well, actually, you can work a couple of you. You'll still get an award. But I got the award, so it's actually just a certificate. It's not an award. So, but it's a really nice certificate. So. And here's the thing: there's one guy that actually goes through everyone's logs, because when you submit your log, it's pretty much a manual log you submit to them. And there's one guy that goes through all of them, checks them, and then he produces the document for you. So it took a while. I just got this about a week and a half ago or so. So, and that's been pretty much it, ham radio wise. We mentioned earlier. And some people may know about. I think his name is Michael Burmeister's his name. He's the brains behind the ham clock, and sent an email out, and it's also up on their website that he's battling cancer and it's spreading. So he's shutting down the ham clock business. So, but he's a great guy. He's an innovator, right? I mean, look, mine's still kind of purring along right over there. So, and I know a lot of folks have them. So, anyway,
well, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody picked that up. I mean.
Somebody might, I'm sure, but yeah. So yeah, keep him in your thoughts and prayers. He's, I think he's a good guy. So, but anyway, that's it for ham radio stuff for me since the last time.
Well, there's actually one other thing that I'd just like to draw people's attention to, and that would be this right here. So there's some news on the Kilo 2 Charlie Juliet Bravo YouTube channel, and Chris, looks like you hit 5,500 subscribers. Congratulations.
Yep. And thank you, all of you that are watching that have subscribed. And it's, Tracy will tell you this. He'll back me up on this. And Philip will back me up on it too. That's such a, it's so encouraging when you see that that number of people just kind of subscribe and they want to see more stuff that you're putting out. So it's, it really is a shot in the arm for us to see more subs on there. So really cool. So
you got to say it right though.
Huh?
You got to say it right. It's Kilo 2 CJB. Yeah. Keep going.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. It sounds like you've I love those DX contacts. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed to Chris's channel, please do so. Get over to Kilo 2 Charlie Juliet Bravo Radio. If you're watching on Chris's channel, which this stream is put to every month in addition to my channel, just hit that subscribe button. And Chris puts out some great stuff, and of course, we're big fans here. I want to just at this point go through some of the comments. We're getting a bunch of folks chiming in. Mike, N2MAK. Hello, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, he's got an Amazon store now.
Does he?
Yeah, he's got an Amazon store.
Oh, he's moving up
Have
in
him
the
type
world.
the address in the comments.
And while we got Mike here, just going to let out a little spoiler. Mike will be our guest in January on the stream. Mike, thanks for accepting the offer and looking forward to a conversation with you in January. All right, next up, we got Jack Frost. Hey, Jack, come on back. Let us know your call sign if you don't mind. And thanks for coming on to the stream. We appreciate you being here.
He's nipping at your nose.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's his time of year. Okay, Arnold Schmidt, 2 is my check-in number. Well, thanks for joining us, Arnold. Appreciate it. Hello, gentlemen, watching your channel from Western Alberta, VE6 land. Fantastic. Wonderful. Great to have a fellow Canadian on. What do we got here? Abdul, you're near and dear to my heart. Love your wisecracks. The Hamfluencer, look at this. Thanks for joining us. Dan Trainer, hello, fellow outdoor hams. Dan, great to have you back with us. Really appreciate it. Juan, hello, my friends. Greetings from Chile. Always wonderful to have you get in with us, and those Chilean hams who join our stream. Man, we really appreciate your support.
We've got quite the international audience here.
We do.
We certainly do, don't we?
Hey, what time zone is Chile? Right? Would they be?
Oh, that's a good question. Hey, Juan, come on back and let us know what time zone you're at.
Yeah, what time is it?
Yeah, what time is it now? What time of day? That's a better one, isn't it? So Dan is WA1QZX. What do they go here? And who's that? But our favorite Iowa farm hand. He's not a farmer, but he's a smart guy and a great creative YouTuber. K0KLB. If you haven't subscribed to Kevin's channel, please go over and do so immediately. He's got fantastic content. It's well worth your time to watch some of Kevin's videos.
And Kevin, I still owe you a response. Just gonna leave it at that, because I suck at that.
You're going after my crown there. I'm terrible when it comes to getting back to people, though I do eventually get back. All right, Uwe from Germany. Look at this, fantastic. DL6AAF. Hello back to you from the Great White North of Canada, Uwe. Great to have you along. What's Kevin got to say? He's on the road, but driving and listening and looking forward to the show. Fantastic. Wow. Thanks, Kevin. Jason, KD9ZHF, the guy from Ham Clock, is releasing all the code to the public.
That makes sense. Yeah.
What a nice.
I figured it's going to do something. Something was going to happen with it. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's
a shame.
Okay, we got some hellos. What do we got here? So others can develop it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good.
Very cool. All right. What do we got, Jason? I'm here because of Tracy.
I'm here because of Tracy.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Wow, what does that mean for us? The rest of us are shop labor. We're nothing.
Thank you, Jason. I think. But we're all, of course, we're glad to have you with us.
No, hold it. Tracy cost me a lot of money. I started watching his videos, and I've got bags of equipment because of Tracy. So don't be so quick to say he's such a great guy. Just saying that.
No, it's fair. It's fair. We all have our bad influences, but better that than crack cocaine is what I'm thinking. Jack Frost. Okay. Here's one for the group, and we got engineer. So Philip, pay attention here. We might need your expertise. I have a question. Those RF squiggly sounds that wiggle and slide through bands that are in the upper HF bands, 25 to 29 megahertz. Are those caused by the sun or Jupiter? I know they are not the iono sound.
My guess, and this is purely a guess, is that they are astronomically related. That's not really one of my areas that I've been investigating, but that would be my guess. I don't think it's anything man-made. Because the ocean radar sounds different than that. You hear all the time, especially on the lower bands.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, I've no idea. But with the propagation been the way it's been with the sunspot maximum, there's got to be a lot of things that are on the table, right?
There's been reported phenomenon and signals that get caught in the enhanced geomagnetic field and just bounce around for a long time.
Interesting.
It's been known to happen. No telling what's going on.
Yeah,
and with the aurora going on.
Yep.
So listen, maybe the ARRL can put out worked all planets.
Hey, Jack, Jack, thanks for the question. If anybody out there watching this has an idea and we haven't hit the nail on the head here, please leave a comment and I'll get to them as the show continues. So, sorry, Tim, were you saying something?
I said Chris is onto something there.
Yeah.
Planets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jupiter's a source of radio,
all the gas giants.
Yeah. Hey, we got the Green Hornet. Hey, hi to KN4 NTU Georgia. We got another Georgia station in there. Southern boy for
that Bob Dobbs. I see.
What's that?
Bob Dobbs. That's another rabbit hole.
Oh,
he'll
is that
tell
right?
you if he wants to.
Yeah.
Oh, and the picture.
Yeah.
The picture. Oh, I like the pipe.
Okay. All right. Mic drop. We talked about global audience.
Wow.
Thailand. Kurt,
Thailand.
Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Turn your radio on. I got to work it now, man.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think you're our first Thailand ham to.
Hey, where in Thailand? I spent some time there.
Did you?
Probably early in the morning, right?
Yeah.
I think Thailand's 12 hours ahead of us.
Thailand's a wonderful place.
Oh, it's got to be. It's got to be 12
they
hours.
have the most wonderful fresh oysters there. I was afraid the first time, but afterwards,
man! I'll tell you what. I would work him I'm trying to work him in a heartbeat. So let's not rule that. Remember, I worked the other guy. Remember that show? I'll work you right.
That's right. And you did.
Yeah, I did.
All right, Jason, back saying hi to Uwe. Rob, VE3 PCP, another spoiler alert. Rob will be our guest next month. And we're going to talk about remote HF. And Rob has done a ton of it. And it's really interesting stuff. You ever thought about operating your rig remotely? Rob is going to be a guy who's going to be able to answer a lot of questions on that front. And he says, good evening, kicking off my order for a premium pocket protector very soon. Tim will be jealous. All right.
No, actually, I think we're going to do like a bulk order.
Oh, that's a good idea.
We've been passing notes back and forth, and he originally came out with this shiny black.
Yeah.
what do they call those shoes? Those shiny black shoes? What's that called?
Patent leather.
Patent leather. Yeah. So it's like patent leather pocket protector, right? It looked like some thing from the Death Star or something like that. But we eventually settled on a nice, like Coachy looking leather, tan. It's perfect.
That's pretty fashionable.
I thought so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where is
Okay. Our viewer list tonight is looking more and more like the CQ Worldwide DX contest.
Yes, I know.
Johnson's Tech World, watching from the other side of the globe, India, VU2JO.
Oh,
thank you very much.
Fire up your radio, man. I got to work you.
Always nice to hear from my friends down east. We got Richard Perry, VE1 GRP. I don't know if you guys know, but here in Canada, we say down east. You never say that in the US, do you? When you talk about the East Coast. And the reason it's down east is because where I live used to be known as Upper Canada, because you had to travel all the way down. The first explorers had to travel all the way down the St. Lawrence Seaway to get here to settle the place. So it was basically upriver. So downriver or down east is the Maritime provinces.
Oh, thank you, eh?
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of Canadiana for you. Richard, thanks for joining us from VE1, Nova Scotia. What else we got? Oh, so John, VU2JO. The time is quite convenient, 6:30 a.m. locally. Well, good morning to you, and I hope you have a wonderful day ahead of you, and thanks for starting it off with us. Continental Chile. Okay, 22. Okay, so it's 10 hours. It's a 2-hour time difference.
Okay, 10 o'clock.
A little bit further to the to the east, I guess.
Okay.
All right. Mark, VA3 HES. Mark, I will forever remember you as the man who scooped that SGC tuner at the Pickering Ham Fest when I grabbed the SGC 2000, which, by the way, still hasn't been fixed. And I'm sort of suspecting that the technician that's got it has sort of given up on it. Which
Hey, I know a guy who could do it for you.
Do you? We'll talk about that later, maybe. Okay, Jack. Hello, I'm not a ham, but I have followed it in radio communication tech for all my life. Well, fantastic. We're not exclusive here. We welcome hams, SWLs, hobbyists, anything. Thanks for joining us. And I build VLF and LF antennas.
Nice.
That is really cool.
Nice.
Boy, there's a topic I would love to dive into one day. VLF and LF. Just what the heck is going on down there? Some test equipment for HF and lightning detectors. Thanks for that. That's really interesting stuff. Very intriguing. Jason, KD9ZHF. I am only a ham for a year. And Tracy, his radio voice and impeccable enunciation drew me into his channel. Thank you very much. That's awfully nice,
it's
Jason.
It's going to cost you a lot of money.
and congratulations on being a ham, on getting your license, being a new ham. I can only imagine that there's a great, wonderful world has opened up wide in front of you, and you got a lot of great experiences ahead of you. Oh, wait a minute. I skipped the Green Hornet. I thought I talked to you. I talked about your story about that. All right. Because who's the guy on Tim, did you say you recognize the thumbnail here?
Bob Dobbs.
Sorry, who?
Robert Dobbs.
Robert Dobbs. Could you, who's Robert Dobbs?
Oh boy.
Oh, I know, Mr. and Mrs. Dobbs' little boy.
No. We'll pair that up. We'll pair that up with the guy who can fix the tuner for you later on.
Oh, okay. All right. Sounds great. Thank you. All right. Jack Frost, thanks. I'm researching them and they are so fast. I think that's a fascinating thing myself. Okay. Mike, hey, okay, we got some highs going on. Reese, the Green Hornet. Hey, Reese, thanks for joining us. Really nice to have you with us. And absolutely, I didn't mean to skip over you. Praise Bob. Praise Bob.
Yep.
I'm missing something here. Hey, we got Floyd KQ4 EUV from Nashville. Hey, Floyd, thanks for
worldwide.
Joining.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Too. It is Music City, right? 8:11 a.m. in Thailand, Jason tells us.
All right.
Very cool. It's I don't know, is it before breakfast or after breakfast? What do you eat for breakfast in Thailand? That's something I'm interested in knowing. Jack is in Texas, so you don't get a whole lot of frost, I'm thinking, Jack, but I know
there's antennas down. That's why you can do those VLF antennas.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there are cold parts of Texas. I just have a little bit different frame of reference than people in Texas do. All right, shameless plug. Okay, here we go. Mike N2MAK. Again, if you haven't subscribed to Mike's channel, please go on over and do so. So Mike is saying I have a video on radio propagation on Mars. I read a book and did a presentation to my club. If I go to Mars, Elon's accepting applications from what I understand. I'd bring my N9 SAB 80 meter OCFD. The critical frequency is about 4 megahertz there. Interesting.
Yep.
So we can work Mars. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Rob Noakes, VE3 PCB. My son Justin, VA3 AQZ, will be operating the 3 Delta 2 Yankee remote station starting at 9 p.m. this evening. One of the youth remote operators in the D Expedition. Where are they? Sorry, Rob, I don't know. If you could just maybe drop in the location, that'd be pretty cool for people to look up. Uwe. Okay, so he's talking about where Uwe's at is in Pforzheim at the northern slopes of the Black Forest. Very cool. All right. Good morning to each and every one of you from India. Greetings from London, VE3XTM. That would be London, Ontario, guys, not London, England. But Gary, always nice to have you with us. And London's a nice town.
Three deltas, either Fiji or Swaziland. So
holy smokes.
Let me know when they're fired up.
I'm guessing Fiji.
Okay. VLF is amazing. I heard a rare 7-hop whistler earlier this year. Caught it on video with a Spectrum waterfall.
Wow, that's cool.
Wow.
What is the 7-hop? What's the 7-hop whistler?
Well, that's my question. Thank you for asking it, Tim.
Here we go.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Whistlers are caused by lightning flashes. The waves get ducted out into the magnetic field lines and are ducted and dispersed. Holy cow!
That's cool stuff.
So you
Rob,
heard
Rotuma Island is where the DXpedition is.
Wow. That
Now,
talk
that's
about
a cool
rare.
Okay. Another shameless plug. I know that Tracy and Chris, you don't spend a lot of time on ham radio Twitter, but I think Rob had put out a tweet, something about his DXpedition.
I'll turn the radio on. Don't mind me.
So I highly recommend it.
Yeah, Twitter is just a rabbit hole for me. Every time I turned it on to do a post or just check on what people are going, there was so much in there. I was spending half an hour, 45 minutes, and forgot why I got onto it in the first place. It's not good for a guy like me. Dan, frequency mode. Okay, wait a minute. So look who's here. We got Shane, Scout 75. Hey,
Black Forest ham. I knew. I was waiting for someone to come up with that.
I was thinking for Black Forest cake. Do you guys have Black Forest cake down there?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
Black Forest hams are more common.
Okay.
At the deli, anyway.
Shane is of course an alumnus, as is Kevin K0KLB of this stream. So Shane, you are royalty amongst us. All right, what else we got here? So 1 in the afternoon in Rotuma right now. So they get a little bit different propagation.
Okay, so Rotuma, where is Rotuma?
That's got to be out in the Pacific.
I've never heard of it. Should I look it up?
Sure.
1 p.m. Well, if it's 8:30 in India, if I'm remembering all these locations. No, it's 8:30 in Thailand.
Central Pacific, 465 kilometers north of Fiji.
Okay.
Wow. Damn.
So that's
Rob, exactly right. It's daylight there. It's darkness here. You're probably not going to hear them right now.
No, you don't know.
Near Fiji. That's true. No, that's true. You dial the frequency and see what happens, right?
Yeah, you can
that's
hit it. I don't know when their gray line comes up.
Right.
Guys, I've been rattling through these. Thanks for the comments. Keep them coming. But right now I want to get on with talking to see what folks have been up to over the past month. Tim, what's going on in the world of Aetherwave antennas?
Oh, geez, well, we're coming up on Christmas time, so in the holidays, so we're pretty busy. We're cranking along. I get out of the basement every once in a while. Yeah, look at that.
Look at that. Notice. I want you to notice something, Tim.
What?
It's the right link.
It's the what?
It's the right link.
It's the right lake.
Yeah, I'm showing the right screen.
Oh, the right link. Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, your Canadian got in the way there. I showed you the right link. The right link. No, the right link. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, you like my AI generated artwork there?
I do indeed. That's pretty spiffy.
That was my first. I was playing around with. I forget what it's called. It's the ChatGPT version of Midjourney. I can't remember what the heck the name is. DALL-E 2 or 3.
And what prompt?
I'm almost expecting to see World of Worlds tripods in these depictions.
That'd be okay too.
That'd be okay.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
So I'm sorry, Tracy. What prompted what now?
What prompt did you use
to
generate the images?
That was so long ago. I had a break in the afternoon and saw this thing and said, "Boy, let's see if I can play around with it." It happens to me a lot. I'll give something a good 2 or 3 hours of high intensity viewing and then move on.
All right, good stuff. Let's well, what's going on though? Tell us what's going on in the world of Aetherwave antennas.
Well, my personal antenna came down.
Yeah.
I have to go. Yeah, and it snows today, right? So the antenna comes down, and I got to make time to go out there and do it. And it snows. It snows sideways.
Ooh.
So it's not like this gentle, Christmas card looking snow.
Right.
No, there's a 30-mile-an-hour wind and it's snowing sideways.
And you're doing antenna work in this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like you guys know the rule, right? You do know the rule. The antenna that goes up in the worst weather always works the best. This is an old ham radio axiom.
Oh, period. Sure.
It's like you ever string Christmas lights up on the coldest day of the year, and it's a brutal job.
No,
they always glow better. They always do. It's just the way it works.
I gave up Christmas lights in like 1998.
Yep.
I hate that shit. I can't anymore. And the only thing worse than that is leaving them. I mean, there are people around who like leave them up all year long, the little nets and stuff like that. Oh, it's just tacky as hell.
I have 2 spotlights, like LED spotlights I can change the color on. There you
Thank you. Thank you very much. I got the same thing. I got those
Yep.
little those yard lights or whatever. So
Yep.
I pulled out the landscape lights and put in the Chang Wong LEDs or whatever they are, and I can turn them green and yellow. Yeah.
And then you hang a wreath on the front door, call it a day.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
That's really interesting. I never knew you two guys were Scrooges, but okay.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Oh, it's even worse. I only do that because I'm ordered to.
No, it was my call. I said, no, I'm not doing that anymore.
I don't blame. Honestly, listen, it's a chore. It is a chore, and it's usually. I give it.
That's what you told us earlier, Tim.
Are we going to hang up the wreath? Well, why didn't you ask me that? When it was 60 degrees out.
I was hoping you were going to forget about that, dear.
Even the king has to bend once in a while, Philip.
Sure.
Okay, Tim. Antenna business. How's it going? Any interesting stuff going on?
Well, lots of interesting stuff. It's slowed down a little bit, so I'm catching a breath. Things are moving. A lot of interest in monoband 100-watt antennas lately.
Monoband.
Yeah, monobanders. Really? Yeah, I had a guy order the complete set of little low power monobanders, and then I've had a big slew of the regular 100-watt version of the monobanders.
Which bands are the most popular?
Oh, 20 and 40 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, 20 and 40. But I've seen more 10s. I've seen a couple more 6s. But it's what you'd expect, right? Where all the activity is. I mean, it goes, it'll go 40, 20, then is 15 and 10 depending on conditions, and then down to like 17 and 30. I get the odd 30 meter one every now and then, which is cool. And then 6 and 17 usually. And that's been the pattern for the past couple of weeks.
That's really interesting.
So it's cool. Yeah, out of nowhere too, right? So I mean, I always wonder what causes these things, because things will run in waves, right? I'll see a lot of this or a lot of that, and and I look around to see if maybe somebody's done a video or said something or anything, and I can't find anything, But all of a sudden we're monobanders, I guess, at 100 watts. I don't mind.
Yeah, no. You know what?
Nothing better.
Huh?
And there's nothing better than a resonant dipole.
Oh, absolutely, without question. In fact, right. I was having that conversation with somebody the other day, and it was like, well, you got this, you got that, and everything, and we were talking, and it was just like, it's like, the best antenna though is just your straight up monoband resonant antenna, which is what at least what I've been saying for years.
Yeah.
And it seems to be, now I've got a engineer who agrees with me. Well, another one, I guess. Another engineer.
That's right. It's interesting, for, of course, the hottest antenna for the past, I don't know, half dozen years, maybe longer, is the end fed. They've just taken right over. And it's almost like the pendulum's starting to swing back a little bit now.
Well, okay, but your end fed half wave is just a dipole that's fed from one end.
This is correct.
Really?
Not exactly.
Well, no, exactly.
Because you're using a counterpoise. It's more like an off-center fed.
It's a dipole, and if you look at the curve, you're just feeding. You have that high impedance on the side, which is why you need the transformer, right? So it's like 2,500 ohms or something like that. It's an end-fed dipole. That's what it is.
So explain this to me, because that's not my understanding, and I need you to explain this for me, please.
Well, you got the doctor right here.
I've got the guys I want to talk to.
You got the doctor.
So here we go. A resonant end fed still requires a counterpoise in terms of the coax and leading ideally a length of coax. I think it's 0.05 lambda running to a choke.
That works out to about 7 feet on 40 meters. So you run a 7-foot piece of coax from the feed point. You got this little booger here that somebody we know makes. So you get a 7-foot piece of coax and you run it to this little booger that somebody we know makes. This is a prototype.
Yep.
And that's your counterpoise.
That's right.
You've got the and that's roughly 0.05 wave as they call for it. Yay. A lot of people notice it. Some people don't. Half dozen the other. the only difference I think personally is you got a little bit of loss in this.
Mm-hmm.
This gentleman wrong direction. This gentleman right here, he does a good job with these. So I'm saying almost as good as a resonant dipole.
Agreed. Yeah, I ran Tim's linked dipole the last outing I had. I could get it up high enough to do full 40 meters on it, but the 20 meter end fed and I literally had a hunk of coax like 5 or 6 feet from that to the radio, flawless, perfect match. It worked just fine.
It's a very forgiving antenna because of the impedance ratio of 49-1. Very forgiving. You can, other than throwing it on the ground, if you chunk it up in a tree or something, it's going to work.
It's going to work. Yep.
And I broke a couple of them, so I know.
There's always a counterpoise, no matter what you do, right? So when you think in terms of dipole, you're thinking of one end, but even if it's your coax or something like that, it has another section that it's running from.
It'll find a counterpoise.
Yeah.
No matter what you do.
The nice thing is you work the harmonics, right? Which gives you the 10 and the 15 on that. So the only thing I did that was differently was just chop it off in the middle and link it.
Right.
And the only reason I did that is so I don't know about anybody else, but a 65-foot piece of wire can be somewhat difficult to manage in portable situations, right? Yes. Especially, and the most popular way of doing that is to just make an inverted V out of it. So if you've got a mast, you got a 30-foot mast, I mean, you could do that.
Right.
But I don't. I have a tree, right? So I've got to somehow get it up and over the tree. So I like slopers and inverted L's instead.
I had a solution to that.
Shoot.
And what I did with that, I don't have the room, you put up your mast. And like I said, you've got that 49-1 there working for you. So I did this and it worked. So I took a 32-foot mast or maybe a 40-foot mast, hooked the top of the wire at the top of the antenna, come down maybe halfway, get a couple of rubber bands or something or whatever, and hold that sucker about 1/3 down or 1/2 down, and then slope it down. That will dramatically reduce your footprint, and it works. Mm-hmm. I'm the only person I think that's ever done it like that. Maybe there has. They've talked about it. Come down, rubber band, slope it down.
Okay.
And I've done that on a lot of applications. Very forgiving antenna. So it's too long. Well, for some people it is 65 feet. That's how I got over that.
It's just hard to manage.
No, it's
but you have a mast, and you like to carry some of that stuff. You've got a specially
throw kit that I haven't used yet.
You've got a specially outfitted vehicle too for your
big
operation.
Project guy.
Yeah. What was that other question? Somebody asked a question about whether or not that's just there we go. Doesn't the counterpoise just make the end fed into an off-center fed dipole? Conceptually, but
that can be argued, but a very, very off-center fed dipole.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Not 1/3 and 2/3. Yeah, we're talking about 0.05 and 0.95. Yeah. So.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right, let me just catch up on a couple of comments here. What do we see here? Okay.
I'm gonna grab another tea. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you grab the tea. I'm just gonna. I've got a couple of really interesting ones here. Here's Jack Frost. I think it's Reese. I've been enjoying the high level of sunspots. Seen some amazing reception and blackouts on HF. I saw the red and green sky in Texas from the solar storms earlier this year. That awesome.
Was amazing.
I did not get to see it here in my location.
Yeah, we didn't see it
here.
Down
here near Savannah, Georgia. It blew my mind.
We have too many trees around us. We couldn't have seen it.
All right. Hey, here's one when Tim gets back. Tim, all right, we got a question for you, my friend.
Ooh, where can I buy my NISB VLF dipole? That's a good question.
Yeah, how many miles of wire are you going to need?
Reminds me of a joke I saw once, and it was like in QST or some magazine like that. What's that super low? There's a ham frequency down there at like
470
meters or something.
630 meters, I think, is one of them.
Yeah, and somebody had jokingly like made this drawing of this giant coil that they carried around on like a two-wheeler, and then they had the little end come off and then a little ground to it, and he was going to work his 430 meters, and he didn't understand why anybody wasn't coming back to him. It's funny.
Kevin, the old tech guy, he built a 630 meter antenna.
Did he?
Yeah. Yeah, they did a video on it. It was, and I don't know if he worked anybody, but I remember him building it and stretching the thing out like for a mile and a half.
Yeah, and he was out in the middle of the desert, wasn't he?
Yeah,
So he had all kinds of room to play with.
You could modify an old Gibson girl maybe and work one down there. Those were around 500 kilohertz, if I'm not mistaken. Life raft transmitter.
Yes.
There you go. Yep.
Let's see here, Richard. That's why the Bishop had such great golf round in the caddy shack. It was the weather. Okay. Yep. All right. Don't leave your Christmas lights up all year unless they double duty as an antenna. Hey, that's the only thing these days, right?
That's the only out. Yeah.
I mean, that's a real thing. People are doing this. They're getting into these HOAs. They're getting into these situations where they can't have a wire antenna up and in the clear. So they're starting to think creatively on this stuff. And any antenna is better than no antenna.
Well, I don't know. Any HOA is going to tell you can't keep your Christmas lights up all year either.
Yeah, probably. Mike, N2MAK. Tim, have you made anything for 160 meters?
Too big, man. Just too big. You know what I did for 160 meters? If you go on eBay, there's a guy who makes a sloper, 160 meter sloper, and it's like a big piece of pipe, and it's got a coil all the way through it, and then he's got like 60 feet or 70 feet of just straight wire. So I climbed up to the roof and did it backwards, right? So I did the 160, and I did that probably in October, and then left it up all winter. That's how I got my worked all states for 160 meter, was just on that thing. And if I wanted to move it, or if I wanted to change the sloper, if I wanted to change the direction, I could go outside and pitch it the other way and do other stuff with it.
Did you use it with an amplifier, Tim?
No.
Okay, CW?
No, JT65 and CW.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense, right? You got it's a compromise antenna for sure. So
not a lot of action on 160. I got to tell you, at least there hasn't been.
That band rolls up about 9 p.m. Everybody goes to bed. It seems like.
Yeah.
Jeez,
yeah. Well, they eat at 4:00, right? And it gets dark. It gets dark because it's a wintertime band. So if they eat, if they hit the blue plate special at 4:30,
that's right.
You get home 7.
Golden Corral.
CW,
that's right.
And then we're in bed by 9 for sure.
Yeah. Here's Reese again. I prefer to listen with a dipole center fed through a ferrite toroid to match 50 ohms. The coax is isolated from the antenna.
Okay.
Comments, guys?
That's cool. Awesome. I listen with the same antennas that I transmit. I've tried listening with beverages and things like that, and long wires and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if it's just me or my location or where it is, but they didn't hear or receive any better than the antenna that I had 30 feet in the air either. So
okay.
In Texas, you probably notice the difference. But I've got a lot of activity around here, and in the city, it's hard to do a long enough beverage or anything like that for just a receive antenna that it's going to make a lot of difference someday.
And guys, we've got enough people in the chat that I'm starting to forget names, and I hate to do that. So I'm just going to call you Green Hornet for now.
Reese.
I'm really sorry. Is that Reese? Because I've been calling Jack Frost Reese, and I apologize, Jack Frost.
Oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah, sorry about this, guys. But I've seen the Aurora in Georgia too. That's pretty great. Hey, what do we got here? Punk rock ham radio. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's in the house.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, that's Alan. Alan's got a cool channel.
All
he's
right.
got a good vibe going on his channel. Good vibe.
He does.
Good stuff. Thanks for joining us, Alan.
He's also my Sweetwater sales engineer. So if you guys shop there at all, look up Alan.
Yeah, actually I do for the church.
There you go. Alan Bauer.
Holy cow.
Then follow him on Twitter.
All right, there we go.
He's a transplanted Californian, and he does these. He's in Indiana, right? So he's been hanging out at the Dunes National Park down there.
Oh, that's a pretty cool place, isn't it? Yeah. All right, let me see.
Looks just like here, actually.
Hey, and by the way, this is Rich. Rich, thanks for joining us. Rich is the fellow that sent Chris and I an antenna earlier this year. Yep. You can work whales down that low.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Oh, good stuff. All right. Rob, VE3 PCP. I added a 1/4 wave element to my ground mount vertical, and it goes up and over a big tree and out the other side. Really? Works pretty good. Huh. Trying to
Resonant
picture
resonant radials rock. They do.
Yeah, but how many of them do you need? See, that's the trouble.
2.
Well, okay. So like I had my super antenna MP2, right, which I love. I mean, it's a cool little. I mean, it was the Wolf River coil and the Mad Dog coil before the Mad Dog coil, right? And I remember having that thing, and I would put it up out in the backyard just to screw around with. And I actually made this little manifold where I could put the 20 meter radial and the 40 meter radial and all this stuff on there, and it just got to be a hassle, and the dog would trip over it, and it got to be too much.
Yeah,
but I love it. It was great. It was a great little antenna.
Okay, Jack, thank you for that. I think I can figure this one out going forward. Jack Frost is Jack. I can be a bonehead, especially after a long day at work. So I appreciate that. And we have Reese, so the Green Hornet. Okay, good stuff. All right. Let me see here. What else we got? I'm just going to go down this. So I went to Sweetwater 420 Festival. I don't know if you guys are talking about the same thing or not. I get the feeling you're not. All right, here we go. I like this. Why are you chaps waking me up in the early hours? Oh, you are talking radio. Cool. Oh, and I wonder where you're at. Anti-static. You must be over in Europe then, huh?
Anti-static.
Oh.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Nate. Nice to meet you all. Okay, what do we got here? Rob, I have about 150 meters of radials on the ground. My vertical is a modified Hustler 5-band TV that now does 9 bands with added 1/4 wave elements for 12, 17, 30, and 160. Woo!
I bet you that antenna does very well.
Heck,
yeah.
I got a Gap Titan 4 welded to the roof of my car, and I just trail as I'm going along. I just trail out the wires at the back.
Oh, geez, that's hilarious. Okay, listen, we got to move along. I'm caught up on comments. Let's see, Philip. Okay, man, oh man, here we are. We are where are we here? We're a whole bunch of the way into this. Oh, 42
YouTube
minutes
doing a live stream.
And 42 minutes into the stream, and we haven't even got to our guest yet. So, Philip, here we go. You know what? What's been going on in your world over the past few weeks?
Well, as you know, or may not know, I work for the federal government. I'm the electrical engineer for the 3rd Infantry Division in their public works. We cover Hunter Army Airfield and Fort Stewart. So we just finished up our fiscal year. Things have kind of slowed down quite a bit, but now we're getting back up and busy again. And in the meantime, I've been starting to get back doing more antenna work. Since August and September of every year is very, very busy for us. That's when all of our projects got to get done by September 30th. And started activating again because the temperatures have gotten down. I built some interesting things, and I activated a very beautiful spot last weekend with another double E buddy of mine I've known for a very long time. Had a nice issue and had a nice time there. No gators. I think it was too cold for the gators to come out. That was the Savannah National Wildlife Refuge. Not a whole lot there. Just been trying to get started back on some projects. I have 2 or 3 things I want to do. I want to finish up a project I've been working on with Tim since February. This has been the Delta Loop, deployable Delta Loop we've been working on. We're kind of leaning towards doing a 20 and 10 meter version because the 40 through 10 is frankly a big antenna. So, but this man here makes the decisions. I'm just a guy that helps him make antennas. And we've been friends for about 18 months. I bought an end-fed random wire from him, and as that developed, we become very good friends. He comes up with stuff.
He kept asking me questions, and it's just like, where do I plug in the coax? Am I supposed to put this in the air? How does this go again?
Wow. Is that how you
I'm thinking maybe what you need to do, son. is drop the dosages down on your prescriptions. Okay, you're getting loosened for you again.
I plug it in. I can't hear anything.
Customer service. Wow.
I'm yelling breaker into the mic, and no one comes back to me.
Delusional. Definitely change up the meds, son. Yeah, that's one of them. That's not the one I was talking about, but this is the 20-meter delta loop that we were going to, and this one actually works quite nicely. Got beautiful SWR curves. Got a lot of ciphering going on there, and actually I was going to ship this back to Tim, and we had some how are we going to hold it up? How are we going to stake down the ends? Still got to work on that. This is just one of my mini sketches I do. This is my chicken scratch.
We had talked about it, Tracy. I know as long as we've been doing the stream, we've talked about doing a delta loop forever.
Yeah.
Right. And finally got around to it last winter, in the deep dark hours, and the 40 meters it's just too big, man. It
works wonderfully.
Yeah.
It works like gangbusters.
The trick is you got to keep it off the ground though, quite a bit too.
4 feet.
About 4 feet. But you're looking at 130 feet of wire, I think, off the top of my head.
138, I think it worked out to be.
And the height for it to be effective and to keep it, off the ground enough is upwards of like 40 feet, right?
40-foot pole, come down to the ends and keep it. And you would zip tie or rubber band the wire where it comes to the pole at the bottom, keep that off the ground. We used a couple of insulated fence posts for the 2 bottom corners. I like it, but he doesn't because it's too big.
Who walks around with a 40-meter pole? Well, some of us have 40-meter poles, but
I got a 50-foot one,
or a 40-foot pole, or 50-foot pole. Well,
this guy would probably like it.
You know what? I'll send you one. You have fun with it. Just more wire. Cool. Anyway, so that was the plan for that one. But Phil did a hell of a job taking it out and putting it up and breaking it, and we'd figure out how to fix it and beat the hell out of it and make it field worthy. Am I blurring up again?
Whenever I go down to the in-laws for major holidays, I'd set up this big 12-meter pole in the backyard and hang the antenna up and start running measurements. And I'm going to tell you something about electrical engineers. You cut one of us loose with a scientific instrument, we're dangerous. I think I probably sent Tim, 500 scans if I were to guess? At least.
Yeah, at least. At least.
Philip, sorry, what is that yellow device you were just holding up?
This is a Rig Expert antenna analyzer, which you can Bluetooth to your phone and run scans from your smartphone app. Then you can do a screen capture on it or export the data. This goes to 500 megahertz. These are quite rugged. Carry mine around in a electric toothbrush case.
Nice.
And this goes to 500. And it's a wonderful device. If you're going to be doing antenna work, you can see very quickly what's going on. You can scan the entire spectrum from 100 kilohertz up to 450 or 500, but I don't ever do that. It's good. It's a good, and you can calibrate these with standard loads, which are not that expensive. You open, short, and 50 ohms. You just calibrate it every few months and make sure your measurements are fairly spot on. Tim, you're fuzzy again.
Yeah, I know. I upped the dosage, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. That's Tim tonight. That camera's working fine.
You know what? I'll drop out and come back in. Let's see what happens. So it's the camera Tracy told me to buy. So
personally,
you made that story up.
Operator error, personally.
Man, there's a lot of throwing under the bus tonight.
He told me to become armed for bear, so here we go.
I've got something for you guys. I want to share with you. While we're on the topic of rig experts, let me just see. I don't know if StreamYard's going to allow me to share this screen, but I'll give it a try. It seems to be a little bit fussy. Here we go. Okay. So the type's going to be very tiny, but I'm going to read some of this out to you. I just heard a pop. Who do we lose? Everybody still there?
Yeah, we're
I'm
here.
still here.
Okay, good stuff. All right. Let's see. We've got so here's the relevant bit right here. All right. And actually, let me do this. Copy. I'm going to close this because I don't think I should be sharing his email address to a wide audience.
Was he having
Fellow I
issues
know,
with-
fellow I know who's extremely active in Parks on the Air. I mean, he's done tremendous stuff. Parks on the Air, just unbelievable. So what he's got here is he's talking about rig experts, and he was talking about ham sticks, and of course I did a couple of videos earlier this year where I'm messing around with ham sticks, and the SWRs were they were not coming into where I was hoping they would. So here's what he says about, and I was using a rig expert to measure the SWR curves. Your rig expert is probably set for 50 ohms and automatically introduces a 1.5 to 1 SWR if the antenna is working against a proper ground plane. I think we get too hung up on tuning for minimum SWR rather than tuning for resonance. Take, for example, a simple dipole. If you use the formula 468 over frequency in megahertz to cut a dipole, then use the analyzer. If fed with 50 ohm cable, we will see about 1.5 to 1 SWR, and the curve shows the antenna as too long. You would have cut the antenna for the resonant length, but analyzing a 73 ohm dipole with 50 ohm SWR meter makes us want to cut the dipole down. Thoughts? Sorry, Tim, didn't realize you were off. I was reading off.
Yeah, you didn't see the whole.
Did not. No, I was reading. Sorry. Okay.
Well, that's better.
Philip, do you have thoughts on that?
Well, if you take a vertical antenna, if you go by the books and you have a ideal ground system, your SWR, you're going to have about 36 ohms impedance at the base, and that's going to provide that's resonance for that antenna. 50 ohms is just a number we chose for convenience. So if you have a resonant vertical, it's going to be 36 ohms.
Mm-hmm.
Over a ground plane. If you have a resonant dipole, it's going to be about 72 ohms. But the thing is, we got stuff around. There's little tricks we can do to bring that down. Drape the dipole in an inverted V. It'll bring the impedance up. Your ground radials around the vertical, you drape those down. I do agree that, your resonance of an antenna is where you have a purely resistive component and no reactance. And that may not be 50 ohms. It may be 100 ohms, maybe 36 ohms. I know for a delta loop, it's like 200 ohms in the corners or 100 ohms in the middle of it near the bottom. And that all depends on how high up it is. There's so many factors out there we have to deal with. We're not building antennas in outer space. That's why we have 468 divided by F. That takes into account the ground going on.
That's right.
And that's why it's important to go out there and play with this stuff. I mean, I've heard people say, well, I ran an analysis on Managal, or I read all these textbooks that told me this and that. That's what the books say, okay? I'm the kind of guy well, you know what? I'm going to go out there and find out for myself. And that's how you learn about how antennas work in the real world. I've built stuff that people said, that's never going to work. It's not going to work. It's a highly inefficient system. Well, I broke a pile up with it on 100 watt CW, first try. People tell me it's going to work. That's
it's funny. I've been... In all the years I've been in ham radio, and it's been quite a few, 1976. Back in the day, I was a kid. I didn't have money for an analyzer or anything, so I used 468 over F, cut a bunch of dipoles, ran them through a cheap Radio Shack antenna switch into my Tempo 1 back then. And you know what? It worked. Was the world perfect? No, but it worked.
We didn't have solid state finals. We had the dip and tune pair of 6146s driven by 12 BY7A. That's how we work.
But here's the thing: 1.5 to 1, even 2
it's not bad.
It's not horrible. It's not horrible.
No, it's not. And people get obsessed with that.
I agree with that. The only reason I bring my
if you got
analyzer
5
out,
or 6 of one, then you're going to start getting losses in your feed line,
Right.
and maybe you should worry about it.
right, when I bring my analyzer out just to make sure, like if I set it, and I don't even use it on Tim's antennas. Tim's antennas, just throw them up in the air and they work. But like when I use the vertical with the Wolf River coil, just to make sure I got the coil in the right spot, I throw the analyzer. I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm resident. I'm good. And then I plug in the radio. But I just do that to protect the rig in case I don't have the coil set up right. That's it.
But you got a neat little thing called ground conductivity going on. You can set that booger down in one spot and set it over there. You get 2 entirely different results.
That's absolutely right.
We got a mix of terrain here. We got salt marshes. I was around salt marshes last weekend. Had a wonderful activation. Or you've got places where the ground is so hard you got to use a hammer to get your spikes in the ground. That's the real world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Let me just catch up on a couple of comments while we go here. We got Jack, Breaker 19 for a radio check. Just checked. I got my radio right here. James, KC8 OPV. Where is the feed point on that delta loop, and is it horizontally or vertically polarized?
That's a very good question.
This is a Philip question right here. You serve him
yes. Theoretically, the best place to feed a delta loop, if you want vertical polarization, is you take your triangles like this, like that, come a quarter wave down from the apex. There you go. I got it shown right here on that left-hand side. However, if you try to feed one of these lightweight antennas, and I tried this, you have to put a tremendous amount of tension on that wire, sloping wire, to get it. And the lightweight gauge wire we use tends to break.
Yep.
So if you feed it in the middle of the bottom leg, that's horizontal, basically a cloud warmer configuration. If you feed it in the corner, still got to use a 4-to-1. That's kind of pseudo vertical polarization. It's not perfect, but it's convenient and it works. And it's a lot easier to, you just get your little insulated fence post, get your good quality 4-to-1 Unin, which Tim made me one, and to check it out, and it works great. Everything's a compromise, but you got to get the bottom of it off the ground. I think this one I show 5 feet. In the middle, you'd need a 2-to-1 baling. On the corner, you'd need a 4-to-1.
So
we prefer the vertical polarization, because the horizontal, basically, you're doing a cloud warmer on the fundamental.
So okay, so we've got a vertical orientation on this preferred. We've got our tall mast in the middle, holding up the apex. What are you using on the ends to hold up the corners?
I'm using those. You go to Tractor Supplies. You push in insulated electric fence posts. They're like $5 a piece, and you just push them in the ground with your foot and hang your wire on them. And they're cheap, and they just work.
Now those are insulated, but they're metal, aren't they?
No, the only metal part of that's the spike in the bottom. What Tim and I have been working on is a way to do fence camping stakes and some sort of line array, so you don't have to carry those posts with you, because the driver here is he wants to have a portable setup. And carrying around 2 4-foot electric fence posts doesn't fit that definition. So we've been working on trying to get an alternative to that.
So you have those tent stakes, right? So you get 2 tent stakes in the ground, and Tracy, you know what I'm talking about, but you have the kind with the ratchet.
Yep.
You tension them up and you ratchet them, and you basically got your force pulling this way on those 2 ends.
Right.
That's what I've used, because the stakes are only 6-8 inches, and the ratchet, they don't weigh anything either. Oh, here he goes. He's going to grab one. Almost fell over that tree.
We have our box of wonders here, which means I wonder what's in the box. So we've got the first pipe here. And here's the other little stakes we're trying out.
Yeah, I like those.
I like these too.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at that, and I've had a lot of experience with camping stakes, and I'm thinking to myself, if the soil is hard at all, you're going to have a hard time getting those in.
You could, yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Now, the one you've got in your right hand there, Philip.
Well,
is
okay.
is that plastic?
Yes.
Is that one? I've seen some of these. I'm in the market for a canvas tent, and I've seen guys who are putting these things into the desert, and they're putting them into very hard ground, and they use a drill to put pegs in. And I'm wondering if something like that can be used with a drill attachment.
It's an auger.
Auger.
Specifically, it's an auger. Yeah. So one of the Tracy, you'll appreciate this. I don't know, Chris might too, but here in the Great Lakes area, we've got this wonderful, 30-foot topsoil bed that we sit on, and any kind of, unless it doesn't rain for 3 months, you've got you easily get into all kinds of soil, and we have relatively good ground conductivity too. And this particular antenna I'm trying to work it so that, like, I know a guy in Arizona is not going to be putting tent stakes into the Sonoran Desert or something. It's just not working. So this is kind of going to be like a specialty antenna. I may offer it for those people who, oh, that sounds like fun or something like that. But it's not at all. It's not in the same
directional.
Yeah, it's not at all in the same simplicity league as throwing up your dipole or your end-fed or anything like that. Because you've got all this stuff. You've talked about it. I've talked about it. We've all talked about it, Chris, too. Delta would be cool, and it's a great antenna. It is like that. But
and it has great SWR curves on the 4-band resonant on.
But
almost as good as the curves for Tim's end-fed half wave.
But it achieves a certain level of impracticality, I guess, is the way to put it. Number one, the 40 meter is so huge, right? And it's like, okay, what am I gonna do with this? Right. And you have to have some sort of ground fixation. Now, if you had like natural things that you could attach to, trees or whatever, all day long. Mm-hmm. But again, there's no trees.
The optimum height, if you've got a tree branch at 40 feet or 45 feet, and you can have room to pull down the corners, you're cooking with gas, brother. I use this inverted. I use this Delta loop, 40 through 10 meter Delta loop at field day for the Middle Georgia Radio Club. Ran 100% CW, and I racked up the highest score for the whole operation. Individual the antenna.
Nice.
The antenna takes names when it's put up, but you got to be able to put one up.
Right.
And the ground was very hard there. It bent the ends of my camping spikes. We were using a mallet to get it. It's just that hard, dry, red Georgia clay.
Yeah.
I'm a big project guy. What can I tell you?
Okay, let's and so what one last thought about the Delta loop before we move on, because I want to take a look at some of this other stuff that you've worked on, Philip. Philip, you were saying it's directional, right?
It's directional on the primary band, which the primary resonance band is pretty much off the broadside. The pattern gets funky on the multiples, the harmonics of it. The advantages of it are it's substantially quieter than similar areas. It's a quieter antenna. You'll wonder where people are, and then suddenly, bang, somebody comes out of the noise really, really loud. That's one of the advantages of it. It's got a lower noise floor.
Very cool. Okay, thank you for that. Let's take a look at another one that you sent along, Philip. This is an off-center fed dipole. Do you have any thoughts you want to share on this one?
It's a standard traditional off-center fed dipole, 1/3 and 2/3, and we've taken into account the velocity factor of the wire. Velocity factor is one of those things people don't talk about a whole lot, and I've run into some extreme velocity factors in my travels, and it's just something you cut the antenna per the formula, and then it's resonating. When I first cut that Delta loop,
wildly,
it was resonant like at 6.5 megahertz.
Ooh.
I had to cut off a big chunk of it to get it up into the ham band. It's just a basic sketch. I hadn't just something I was thinking about building. Of course, there's me on the right hand side. I have silly little engineering drawings. People like them for some reason.
All right,
and I'm a Morse operator. We also got a key there.
It's like the old Tektronix schematics. Remember they used to put little
Oh yeah. Well, they have little things on the schematics.
Yep.
And I'm old enough to know about that.
Yep.
All right.
The one that people like my drawings, Tracy. I like to keep. I don't think it depends on what your passion is, and I like to have fun. And this dates back probably 40 years, and I've been doing these little silly cartoons for a very long time. My brother Eric, Kilo 4 Tango Victor Radio, he lives about 150 air miles from me in Central Georgia. He loves my sketches, and I've still done them like that. I have a different vibe that Walt does, K4OGO. He has very nice pen and pencil work. But people appreciate them. I get positive feedback for them. I think engineering should be fun. Now, of course, I wouldn't show a drone like this to a client or a customer. No, we don't do that. This is just fun between fellow hams and those who follow our exploits.
Good stuff. Okay, let's take a look at a different one here.
Oh, this worked out quite nice.
Yeah, talk to us about this one.
This is pretty serious.
And I've been very pleased with this. It's another way to deploy. There's a gentleman on Etsy who sells a 3D printed pole clamp specifically designed for spider beam poles. And the rest of it is just parts you can buy off of Amazon. I don't know any welders personally. So the ideal way is to make a little T-piece there of 2x2 steel to get some bar stock, whatever you call it, and weld them together. I don't know how.
Wait, hang on. So you work at Fort Stewart, but you don't know any welders? Can't you walk down to the motor pool or the BMO?
I don't know anybody in the motor pool, Tim. I'm a line engineer. I don't get my hands dirty.
Okay.
That's what you get for saying things like that to me.
I'm just saying,
Here's the thing: if you use government resources for personal gain, you know what that happens? You go to jail.
Yeah, I think,
or lose your job.
Yeah, I think they meant for like selling M16s out the back of the armory or something like that. I mean, asking the motor pool sergeant to weld you a plate together doesn't come under that. Hell, you could give him the
you
welding.
Want me to go to prison? Why?
Yeah.
Why do you want me to go to prison?
Okay. There's no and we're in semi-rural Georgia, and there's not B&B welding shop down the road, or muffler shop. Nothing like that.
I tried to get quotes for a welding job, and I showed them that different sketch I had. It had all the dimensions on it. The guy couldn't give me an over the phone quote. This is simple work.
No, you just walk in there with the two plates and say, "Here, weld this for me." That's all you got to do. I know you're used to working with other engineers and being able to visualize things in complex spatial relationships with that. But you just go to a welding shop and say, "Hey, buddy, weld this. I'll give you $20."
I'm also used to dealing with other types of people. Like for you, for instance, I have to dial down the IQ to avoid getting migraine headaches.
Man.
So,
man, oh man.
I got to dial down the IQ, okay?
Now, I think too,
love you like a brother, Tim.
And Philip's probably also having to deal with more paperwork when he wants to get something like that done on a regular job. Like, hey, and he's got to fill out, Form 278Q and get 16 approvals. So, the idea of walking into a shop.
It's Form 40. It's Form 4283.
There you go. See?
They send that through the chain. They decide if it gets done, and they say, we need an electrical engineer to figure this out. That's me.
I told you this would be fun, didn't I?
Yeah, no.
I worked in the private sector for a long time, and then I changed into the government sector. And life is good. I'm doing good work for them, and I enjoy working for the Third ID. And I'm very honest, Mr. Tim. You should know this.
Feds.
Yeah, the one thing about engineers, for the most part, they're brutally honest.
That's right.
Well, I had a couple of Tim's toys that I was going to give heap big praise on. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that now.
No, don't do that. No.
Hey, let me run down some comments here, guys. Neck from the Ontario CB Club. Hey, Neck, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Jack, I built my own antenna bridge out of a 1N34A and a few 50 ohm non-inductive resistors and an analog meter.
There you go.
Okay.
That's from like a 1960s antenna book or something. That's an old project.
Yeah.
And I think you'd have a donut toroid, and the feed line, the little center conductor go through that, and you have a switch, and you measure the current each way. I believe they call that a monomatch or something, but you don't need a lot to measure forward and reverse antenna energy going back and forth. And the really old days, they had like a twin lead or open wire line. They put 2 neon bulbs on the feed line coming in, and they'd adjust the match on the balance tuner, and the 2 little neon bulbs on the feed line, when they were equal brightness, they had equal currents. They were matched up. If I believe I'm correct on that, aren't I, Chris?
Why are you asking him?
Equal bright? No, it's equal brightness, or do they go out?
I never built one, so I just read about it.
I had one of those little SST tuners that had the little neon light in it. And I think it was like you tuned it so the light went out. So,
well, if you got a transmitter or whatever with a decent Pi network, you didn't worry about SWR with open wire line.
Right.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, this is more like for a random wire.
This is ancient technology.
Yeah. Neon light bulbs.
Guys, let me show you something. I was out working. I was shooting a video in a local park last spring, I guess it was, and so I had the stuff set up, and a lady comes over and she says, "Hey, are you a ham operator?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." She says, "Listen, my husband was a ham operator. He's passed away, and I've got all these boxes full of his stuff. Do you know where I could find a good home for them?" So I connected her with the local ham club. I went and picked up a bunch of boxes and took them over and facilitated. The local ham club is it takes in the stuff from the Silent Keys and makes it available to the new hams coming. A really, really cool thing.
I know clubs that do that.
Mm-hmm. What's that? Yeah, it's a great customer. It's a great service, right?
Then you have these people to come in and just try to buy the whole lot for $100, and I think it's ethically very, very wrong.
Oh yeah, because then they'll turn around and resell it for big bucks and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
I want to show you this. Speaking of what we were just talking about, do you guys know what this is?
It looks like a Geiger counter, but I don't think it looks more either that or a grid dip meter.
That's a tuner pedal for a guitar.
It's called a wave guide. And this thing stuck in the side is a 40-meter coil. Now, this was produced back in the late 40s and early 50s. And the idea is that you would hold this next to the transmitter with the appropriate band coil plugged into it.
Yeah.
And then you tune the dial to wherever the meter deflection was the greatest while you're transmitting. And then there's a chart that you cross-reference to tell you what frequency the transmitter is transmitting. Of course, long before digital readouts.
Right.
So
that's some World War II spy hunting stuff right there.
How cool is this, right? It's just like, what a fascinating piece of technology.
It looks very similar to a old-fashioned grid dip meter.
Yeah, sure does.
I got one of those. It's just the whole World War II thing about tracing down enemy transmitters is a big story in and of itself.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Wave guide, guys. Okay, let me continue down here. That was a really interesting comment by Jack. Okay, punk rock. Just got home from work. Did I hear someone say rig expert stick pros need to be calibrated every few months?
No, I'm an engineer. I like my instruments to be calibrated. That's just my personal preference. I would probably say personal preference about every 6 months or you cannot worry about it at all. They come pretty much calibrated from the factory.
Do you get a certificate with that?
I don't have anything that's traceable to a WWV standard, no, or National Institute of Standards of Time. I don't have anything traceable to that. You can get the 3 slugs open, short, and 50 ohms. Very cheap. That'll fit on the end of this. And I just like my instruments to be accurate as they can be.
Sure.
There's so much variation in the stuff I deal with that I don't want to tell anybody the wrong information.
But in principle, so all of us out there running around with rig experts and ham sticks and all the other stuff should realize that at some point they need to be calibrated, correct?
I figure that most people buy these, and they're good instruments. I figure some people buy these and never worry about it. And for the majority of applications, it doesn't really matter that much. Well, like you said, the mindset here, who I am, what I do. I'm an engineer, Tim.
Are you?
I just like things to be calibrated.
Absolutely.
My personal preference is every 6 months.
I mean, what you're looking for, sorry, not what you are looking for, but what most of us, when we go out in the field, I include myself because I've got a couple of the old school rig expert analyzers. I just want a general idea. Okay,
Sure.
Where is this thing resonant? Where is it not resonant? And I don't care, if it's out by 5%. It really doesn't matter to me. I just
the most important thing you're going to see is you got your spectrum here, or we say you got a slice of spectrum. You got this little dip.
Yep.
That's where you want to tune it for.
Right.
It tells me, do I need to hack off wire, or do I need to add wires? That's why you always make your antennas long. That tells you where to move it.
Yep.
Chop it off a little bit. Oh, 6 inches moved at so many kilohertz. Okay. Next time, chop off another 6, see where it runs. Then your chops get smaller. You're just moving that resonant point. And for that sort of thing, it does matter. For that sort of thing, the exact accuracy doesn't matter. You're just trying to get that little dip where you need it.
Okay, here's a question for you. Here's something that I've done for years, and I was looking for the engineer's take on it. So, here I am. I'm going out with one of my N9 SAB antennas, and I'm going out camping, and I'm going up north to a park I've never been to before. So I'm going to put one of his antennas up. Let's say it's a resonant dipole, and it's a bit low. So rather than cut it, I'm going to fold the wire back onto itself and just tape it around, because the next deployment I go to, a different park somewhere else, I could find that if I cut it, it's going to be too short. What's your take on that practice, Philip?
Number one, you should never be cutting Tim's antennas to start off with, because he's gonna send them to you pretty much tuned. Mm-hmm. My impression is when I build an antenna or I test an antenna, you have it probably in the middle of the band. It's going to be resonant in the middle of the band, especially on 40. The ends are SWR is not going to be that bad. We're not talking about, I moved it to location B or location A, and the SWR went wild. It went up to 10. That's not going to happen.
Right.
So you just have that antenna initially tuned, and just throw it in the air. And if it's not exactly what you want it to be, just use your auto tuner on your rig or your outboard manual tuner. Just don't worry about it. You take these resonant antennas in the field. The only time if I have an activation and one of my antennas doesn't work, I've got a problem, then I'll whip this out. Most of the time you throw the antenna up, deploy it, and it works. So if you've got variations in SWR because your environment's different, don't hack the antenna. Just use a tuner on it.
You can't stress that enough. I mean, because there's a number of tips and tricks. I mean, just from the case of using a resonant dipole, a 20-meter dipole, right? And I go to Park X and I put it up, but I can only get it up 20 feet or so, right? And I can't flat top it. I have to do some kind of severe inversion, okay? My resonant frequency is going to be lower than it is if I had been able to put it up straight, right? Or get it up higher and then do the other thing. So there's a lot of things you can do before you actually have to cut a wire. You really should never have to do that.
To answer, Tracy, to answer your question, so the first Tim antenna I got was the link dipole, and not realizing that, I never told Tim like I wanted flat or inverted V. I never mentioned. I just ordered the antenna, so he assumed flat. And when I was using it at first, I noticed, geez, the SWR in 40 is kind of high. So I went in and what I did, I didn't cut it. I just folded it back, and I still have it that way to this day because I'm using it as an inverted V, not as a flat antenna.
I remember that. And he did the video. It was the K9 ARV.
That's right.
Dipole, and
Right.
and he had it in his backyard, and he put it at like, I don't know, it was some kind of crazy inverted.
Yeah, well, it's up on. Yeah, that's usually how I use it.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's just like I was like, geez, it seems a little high, so I just kept folding it back. Said, oh, it's good now, and I just zip tied it, and it's still that way to this day.
And I remember watching the video, and I'm like, oh my god,
It's like another idiot ham that doesn't know what he's doing.
No, that's not true. That's not true. But I tell you, sometimes I get into a mood and I'll get questions and stuff like that, and I end up thinking to myself that there's nothing more dangerous than a ham running around with a rig expert, measuring the SWR of his gutters and stuff like that. And it's just like you don't need to do that.
Right.
Now I got the SWR is 1.6. That's okay. You don't sweat it.
But I think when I did that, it was kind of high because as he was showing up on the little meter on the 817, I said, all right, let me just take a look at this.
Yeah, you were resonant. You were resonant about 6,
something like that.
7 or something.
But it's
like
funny.
that.
I folded it back like maybe 8 inches, but I folded. But to answer your question, Tracy, I folded it back, zip tied it. And now when I deploy the antenna, I just hooked that little bungee cord right on the fold. And
that was years ago. How like that?
Sure
that was what, 2015?
Yep. And I'm still using that antenna. It works great.
Heck yeah.
There are some basic.
You want me to send it to me? I'll trim it for you.
There are some basic precepts you got to know. You can't. There's some things you can not do with an aerial. Don't lay it on top of anything metal. Try to get it in the clear. Right. Try to get it away from vegetation. Keep it away from youngins who will run through the field and get clothesline, and then you got a death on your hands. That's an extreme case. If you get the antenna up in the air a little bit and keep it away from metal objects and whatever, it should work.
Who did a real good video on that was who's that? The guy with the Dixieland intro to his videos.
Dave Kassler.
Dave Kassler, that's right. Yeah, he did a video.
Yes.
And he had gone through all of the different things that you need to do, like if you're using a dipole to keep, like if you have metal objects within 3 foot of the ends, and a whole bunch of stuff and how it affects that. I mean, he devoted like a whole half hour to it, which was really interesting. That's how I learned stuff.
Now,
I didn't go to a fancy school.
There is a use for it. A dipole 10 feet off the ground. It's called NIVIS, near vertical incident skywave.
Sure.
Yep.
All of it's going to go straight up.
Yeah. Which is what some people want. I mean, some people.
Yeah, if you're doing emergency response or.
So I threw on that topic. I went out to the park on, was it Labor Day? And no, it was Thanksgiving Monday here in Ontario, and I was shooting a video, and I thought, I've been wanting to try this for a while. So I took Tim's end fed, it was the half wave end fed, and I put it up at 8 feet. And I thought, I'm just going to, I've got it strung between 2 trees here. I'm just going to make a few contacts because I was talking about the radio. I wasn't talking about the antenna. And I was on 20 meters and worked a de-expedition in an island off Brazil. I shouldn't have, by the book, I should have been able to make that
20 meters is special like that because you get the skits. That's why, so for the Tech Pepper NVIS dipole, the first band that he did was 20 meters, right? And
that's too high for NIVIS.
Every once in a while, I'll get some questions about, hey, I'm trying 20 meters at this. Or I put it up at a different height or something like that. And it's like, well, no, that was cut for an NVIS that he wanted to do. Right. But you can take that, you can put it up, and you can actually work the X. Now the resonant frequency is going to be different because you're higher and stuff like that. But 20 meters isn't an NVIS frequency. You're talking.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah. No, it was interesting, right? It's like, and of course we're at the top end of the solar cycle. So that plays a role.
NIVIS will work a little bit higher. But what you look at the textbooks on NIVIS, they typically tell you about 10 megahertz.
Yep.
But that's during average conditions, and we're at or near slower maximum. So the F1 and F2 layers up there are bouncing stuff a lot better than they usually do.
Mm-hmm.
Does Chris work in the Fiji station?
No, I'll tell you what. I just happened to look at the DX. No, that's what I was looking for. I'm looking at the DX cluster, and I just flipped over to 10 meters, and 10 meters CW is freaking hopping.
It's on fire.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey guys, let me catch up on some comments here because I'm way behind, I think. All right, so Rich, my first field op was vacation with parents on North Haven Island, down east, Maine, in 75 or 76 with a Tempo 1. Hey, I know somebody who has one of those.
He says down east too.
Apparently, isn't that interesting, huh?
Yeah.
I was 14 to 15 years old. Herb Lapp, N2 GQ science teacher, handed out Tune in the World with ham radio. That's very cool.
That's cool. Tempo 1. Love it.
that was his introduction. What a sharp radio that is.
Sure.
Jack, I went camping and we're back to the pegs here. Went camping, used 3/4 inch hollow aluminum rods from Lowe's to go into very hard ground. Hammer it in with a piece of wood to keep from bending the aluminum rod.
That's how I did my ground rod here. I just took a M copper pipe into a window well, Oh,
jeez. Hey, look, Colin and VK, look at this. Hey, Colin, thanks for joining us. Oh man, we are total global today. All right, Jack Frost, because it's hollow, it goes in easy. We have tough orange clay in Texas. Hey, you know what? Tim was talking about, Great Lakes region soil. Well, here where I am, there is a lot of clay, only a few inches below the soil. So that can be an issue.
Jack, we got the same kind of clay down here. They call it red Georgia clay, and it's. I said I bent camping spikes with that stuff. You got to have a mallet.
Yeah. Hey, Jack again was doing tests on 17 megahertz receiving, and the hollow aluminum rods handle. Okay, good stuff. Corey, VA6 from Alberta. Hey, Carrie. Hey, Carrie, thanks for joining us. Greetings to you. Okay, Rob, V3 PCP. Oh, wait a minute here. Important question. Tim.
He has to fill out the proper form in order to requisition a pocket protector. I think it's a form. 1090.
The form is you've been out of federal service for a while. It's a BA 1100M form.
There you go.
That's particularly for party supplies.
Yeah.
No, there's a reason why I don't have a pocket protector. I have a bride with fashion sense who's very smart.
Very good.
If I ran around with a pocket protector, she would kill me.
He just doesn't have any, he doesn't have any shirts with pockets. Don't let him lie.
Liar.
Okay.
Sherry, I think Sherry looks me up and down every day before I leave the house.
That's it.
Those are wrong color shoes to wear with them pants.
That's nice.
Don't you go out embarrassing me now.
Yeah, he'd run out in his shorts otherwise, right?
I don't argue with Dr. Sherry now.
Good for you.
Hey, Rob, VE3 PCP. He calibrates his Nano VNA every time he uses it. It only takes a few minutes.
That's right. You know what? And when it comes to analyzers and things like that, I mean, I've used a bunch of them, and I've had a few over the years, from the great big MFJ, was it 290C or whatever it was?
Oh boy.
Yeah. And I got the Nano VNA. It was $50 on Amazon, and I've never been happier. And if you keep it within a range, like my range is 3.5 megahertz to 28. And I calibrate it there. I probably do it every couple of months. I don't go into
you and I think similarly.
Yeah, I don't go into the gigahertz range or anything like that. I mean, I'm always right there. So, and if things start to look funny, and I do the same thing all the time, right? So I'm doing the same thing all the time. And if my readings start to look a little wacky, the first thing I do is just calibrate the meter, and 99% of the time, it just that's what it was. It started to drift after a while. $50, best $50 I ever spent.
Awesome. Richard, I calibrate often, but I was told by the rig expert engineer to purchase a precision Amphenol 50 ohm short kit because a 50 resistor soldered to an N or PL259 connector is not good enough.
That's what I would say if I was a rig
expert
engineer.
That would be an issue, yeah.
Okay. Gary, 100 is that a 100-inch dipole with
Mhm.
open wire feed to a balanced tuner? Worked all bands at
I think it's 100 foot. I think you mean
it has
Yeah,
to be 100
100
feet, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To a balanced tuner. Worked all bands
yeah,
at
sure.
field pitch.
Sure, that'll work great.
Well,
Yep.
no, it's 100
Worked fabulous.
100 foot dipole with open wire feed. It's just a fancy or non-fancy G5 RV, or was it ZX 20G
Whatever
or
it is.
something like that?
Yeah. But yeah.
I don't think it's resonant anywhere. So
No,
it's
the tuner's doing the work.
Needs a
But,
tuner.
Oh yeah,
but you're getting
no
a lot,
loss in
you're getting a lot of RF out to the wire. So
Oh yeah. No loss in the feed line.
right.
So you're doing
Will
good.
that work 160?
Probably.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay.
You got to get that antenna up high.
Yeah.
Reese uses a Soda Beams 20 and 40 link dipole QRP. From the sounds of it, Reese, it works well for you. Rob, he uses exclusively VE3 PCP. And, there you go. All right. He got the Soda Beam filter for my 818. I have not installed it. Aren't there two Soda Beam filters? One is like an audio filter. I'm trying to remember. It seemed to me there were two different Soda Beam filters. Be interesting.
I got the one you send to the guy in Texas, and he puts it in for you and sends it back.
Yeah, it's got the buttons.
Yeah. And but it's not a filter like a Collins or something. It's you solder into the board. It's a digital filter or something.
I'll tell you what. Just talk about Collins filter. I got my 817. Like whenever I started watching Tracy's videos, and but it doesn't come with a CW filter, and you got to get that.
Nope.
Collins filter, and I kept looking, and sure enough, on Fleabay, one came up, and I got it, and
nice.
It works great.
Why haven't
when did you, Chris? When did you get that?
At least 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years
You
ago.
priced those lately?
I did.
Oh yeah,
that's inflation.
I would love a 500 hertz filter for my 897.
Yep.
But I ain't spending $300 for one.
Yeah.
I don't need it that bad.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, Reese, why haven't you installed it?
I was lucky to get it.
Why hasn't Reese installed this filter?
Good question. Let's find out.
Oh, he's lazy. Okay, I got you. Oh,
okay,
that's cool.
Okay.
Honestly, I did that, and I thought it was just going to be, and this was, I had just gotten the radio, and I just started getting into things, and there's this filter, and it was going to be the coolest thing ever, So I sent it down there, waited a week for it to come back, and it came back, and I can't wait to see how much this blows my mind in terms of my ham radio experience. No, it was okay. Yeah, okay.
It just makes life a little easier.
Yeah, I'm not working anybody that I didn't work before. I didn't do anything different, whatever. It's just okay.
Exactly.
So, and that was kind of that's the way it's been with most of the gadgets and doohickeys that I end up getting.
Yeah. Hey, let me get down through some more of these comments here. Envis is fun for POTA. Never not got a giant pile up doing that. Okay, cool. That's great to know.
Put up what you can put up.
Yeah, exactly right.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. If you can put up, it doesn't take much to put up an antenna at 8 feet. You try to put an antenna up at 20 feet in a tree, you could be there for a couple of hours snagging on branches, and that's no fun. I've been there.
Here's the thing about this, though. Here's the thing about this. That's important. Like I said before, I'm an engineer. We like to figure out how things work. If you do some field deployments where you're erecting antennas in non-optimum ways, like I don't have any trees, you run the wire over there. Oh, I got a tall tree, run it up there. Here's my kid, have the kid hold the wire in the air, whatever you got to do. You're going to learn how these things work.
Yeah.
And you learn by going out and trying things and seeing what works for you. I have learned a tremendous amount of things about antenna, including tolerance of interesting personality people. But I've learned a lot of things in the past 18 months doing POTA.
Absolutely.
I approach an activation like a science problem. Where am I going to run the antenna? Where we want the main lobe to go? Who am I going to make mad by using this antenna or that antenna? But I got to mix it up. I try
See,
not to
I'm,
use
I'm the exact opposite. I just want to, I put the damn wire in the tree, and it takes 10 minutes.
boring. I can't do the same thing every time.
As
I'll
long, as,
play
long
around with
as, as long as
verticals.
the park ranger doesn't come along and say, "What'd you put up in that tree?"
Oh, park ranger, schmark ranger.
No, the rangers down here are in southeast Georgia are very chill.
Hmm.
They are. You just got to be smart about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there are no park rangers here at my local park, right? I mean, you might get a drive through every once in a while, but the park itself is huge, and it goes from there's probably like a 2 mile section from the entrance to the lake, right? So you've got grassland, you've got marsh, you've got the tree line, and then you've got beach, and then you're in the lake, right? And if you roll up to the place and put your antenna right up next to the visitor center or something like that, yeah, I would expect that somebody's going to come along and ask you questions. But if you hike a little bit, and get out to the, just no one's going to bother you. You can't. I think you can't drive the funk wagon. It doesn't go off road.
Volkswagen's how you say it.
Doesn't go off road.
That's not an all-wheel drive vehicle. It's a front-wheel drive. It's a front-wheel drive truck.
You put on the pack and you hike over the dune.
But it's paid for, Tim. I don't want to destroy it. Okay.
I get it.
Okay, guys, let me get down through some more comments here. So Rob, just talking about Rotuma again, it's down, right? The power is off. A regular daily routine.
Jeez, that's why I'm not seeing it out there.
Yeah, no doubt.
I was looking on the DX cluster to see if I saw the call sign, but not there. That's why.
Okay, let's take a look at this one. Luis, is it true that if you were using an NVIS configuration, someone else with an NVIS configuration can receive you better than someone who is not on the same frequency? I wonder if he means a different type of antenna.
Wait, say it.
There's a lot more at play here. Polarizations being similar. You got this antenna receives better at this angle, or the other one receives better at this angle. And if you got a three-dimensional section cut through the antenna's pattern, if you got one that's mainly shooting stuff straight up, and you got somebody whose antenna is more responsive to low angle,
yeah,
it kind of thinks that way. But here's the thing, like I said before, all bets are off when you're out in the field in the real world. I mean, you could be next to a marsh pond and have a 10 dB effective increase in your signal. This is a well-documented phenomenon. I mean, we were out there essentially in the marshes last weekend during the sideband contest. And we were getting all over the place. It worked great using one of Tim's aerials. That's why it's important to experiment with NVIS antennas. It's not cut and dry.
Well, I think
it never is.
In this example, right? So if I have an NVIS setup and I'm transmitting on, I don't know, 40 meters, right? And a guy in the town
about 300 miles.
Yeah, so a guy in the town 200 miles away has his Gap Titan 4, and the guy with another NVIS configuration in the other direction is probably going to hear me better than the guy with the
because we're vertical, most of your stuff's low angle.
So
it'll pick it up, but it won't pick it up as well.
So the answer is it depends.
It depends. I'll agree with that.
Okay, let's move along, guys. I'm sorry, we got to catch up on some of these. So Reese, I use a sledgehammer and an angle iron on the red clay for my antenna.
That's right, goddammit.
Yeah, and whatever you do, don't do what Tracy did.
That's another basic principle.
That's 3 weeks later, and I'm still concerned that I might lose that nail.
This is a basic concept, and it states don't use force, get a bigger hammer.
That's right.
And somebody else's fingers. That's one of my rules from now on. Steel tent stakes stand the test of time, and the weight difference is negligible. Yep. 100 feet. Okay, Gary, we caught your typo. It will do both. All right. I have not installed it because I'm lazy, Tim.
I get it. I'm lazy too.
All right. I have not finished my QCX Mini either. I got it right beside me.
That's
winter's coming. Winter's coming. Project time.
You know, I ordered my DL2 True SDX. I ordered it and it finished
Did you?
because I wasn't gonna. There was never gonna get to the kit. It just never was. I know it.
Yeah. Oh well, one day. Richard, G5RV needs a really short coaxial transition. The coax portion has a crazy high SWR. Ideally, you should bring the ladder line right to the 4-to-1 lugs on the tuner directly.
Yes, but that's not a G5RV then.
Right.
Yeah, and the whole
You
point of
can
the
do that.
G5RV is to shorten the length of the antenna, right?
Well, yeah. So you've got a doublet, right? If you feed a doublet with coax, it becomes a G5RV. That's
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you, Tracy, you know this, that like the modern Yaesu rigs, like my FTDX 3000, the manual says do not use a G5RV with the built-in tuner. It will not tune it. Not happy with that.
But running ladder line, you know, outside into the shack, you know, into the place isn't always the easiest thing to do. And
Might have
coax,
some common mode current giving you grief for that.
Yeah.
there's a convenience factor there too.
And
And that
you
would,
can use one of these here. So,
yeah, you could do that too.
Yeah, exactly.
Here we go. I like to feed the squirrels Doritos while doing POTA. They are a good audience.
That's right. And justice for peanut too while we're at it.
Yes, absolute 100%. Yes.
I was never so mad, I swear.
That was disgusting. That was absolutely. I was offended.
barbaric. That was barbaric.
Yeah.
And Fred. Don't forget Fred.
Yeah, don't forget Fred. In my experience, the ultimate test in park ranger tolerance is setting up the buddy hex in the park and seeing what happens.
Yep.
All right, no gators in the marshes. You know, I'm talking to a guy at field day, right? I'm cursing the mosquitoes. And I end up talking to a guy in southern Ohio, making a contact with him. And he tells me the rattlesnakes are out. I'm thinking, Southern Ohio? I said, I told him I feel like a wimp because I'm here complaining about mosquitoes. Do you have to worry about rattlesnakes?
So do we. You know, there's a rattlesnake that's native to the Great Lakes area.
Well, there's one in Ontario. The only one that's found in Ontario is called the Massasauga rattler.
That's the one.
But it's extremely rare, at least in Ontario.
I've seen one once. I was at my local park, right? And I was walking the trail going into, and somebody had run it over. So it was flat, right? But you could tell, and it looked like a tiny little like Eastern Diamondback or whatever with the rattle and but it was like this big. It was tiny. And it was just like, oh my God, I've never seen that. And I didn't know what the hell it was. And I was with my sister. She goes, oh, that's a Mississauga rattler. I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, we have our own rattlesnake here in the Great Lakes. It's native to the Great Lakes, and it looks like that. That blew my mind.
Yeah.
Somebody made a comment about them. We didn't see any gators at the wildlife area this past weekend, I think because it was cold. It hadn't warmed up enough for the gators to come out. Because that area's got signs in there, don't feed the gators or don't molest the gators was the sign. We didn't see a single one, and we drove that whole area after we got done.
They're on the golf course.
There's no golf course there.
Yeah, that's where I'd be if I were a gator.
It's just a 5-mile road that goes around however many acres that is. It's National Wildlife Reserve. So.
All right. We're getting down to the home stretch here, guys. Floyd, KQ4 UV. I use my soda beam mast, 2 Trek poles, and one of Tim's dipole antennas, and I'm up and running in minutes.
Perfect.
This is my go-to setup. Fantastic.
Perfect.
Well done.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. Rob's got a really interesting one here. During Noble Skywave, when Rob's on next week, we're going to talk to him about this Noble Skywave, the military HF championship he participated in. He used resonant 1/4 wave vertical element on my trailer in and around 14.8 megahertz. Worked a station in the Middle East with 100 watts.
Sure.
Isn't radio wonderful?
Yep.
Yeah, it sure is, huh?
Especially the applications there.
Oh, here we go. Gary, feed the squirrels cashews and they'll hang your antenna for you. Yeah.
Nice.
Colin and VK, hey, from down under. I'm lucky in our local national park. My vehicle is a licensed marine rescue radio base. So the rangers let me into park free and I can set up my antennas for testing purposes. That's
just a great.
What do we got here? Thank you, gentlemen. I hope to see you live next time. I run NVIS inverted V dipole at home. 738. Thanks, Reese. Appreciate you joining us.
Perfect.
Okay, guys, we're at 1 hour 45 minutes. Boy, we never got to the AM stuff. We never got to solar. I want to, just before we break up here, guys.
There's so much I wanted to say. It's just a big, broad area, but it is what it is.
It's huge, right? There's so much.
Huge.
I guess we're just going to have you back at some point, Philip. But I want your take on this. Well, we'll have a little discussion about this before we break up. So, I'm of the mind, and who needs solar for radio if you can now buy a 100 amp hour battery for the low prices they're selling for right now? Because you can operate for days. Why do you even need to invest in solar if all you need to do is invest in a high capacity battery? And you don't need to truck it, right? You don't need to put it on your back and slug 3 miles into the forest. What's your take on this?
This is really a question of your operating philosophy. Okay. And everybody says, why do you need to do this? Why do you need to do this? You can buy a 50 amp hour battery or a 20 amp hour battery. I bought a 20 amp hour battery 15 years ago. Cost me $200. Okay. And actually, it was a 10 amp hour battery, lithium ferrous phosphate. It's all about if you're just going out to the park and you're going to have a good time and you're not worried about anything else, then do it that way. Everybody plays radio the same way. I look at it from a point of view of an engineer. I like to experiment with technology. But if you have a major grid down event, like we did here not that long ago, I know North Carolina got it. My wife's in-laws who live near Valdosta, Georgia, they were without power for 2 weeks. And my in-laws are elderly, and not having power is a significant issue for them. At some point, that 100 amp hour battery is going to die. It just stays up longer. For emergency preparedness, having a way and means to charge that battery outside of a petrol-powered source or a hydrocarbon-powered source, you're going to have to do that. And I've invested quite heavily in portable solar panels. If you're just, hey, let's go play radio, go out in the park, well, that's fine. You could run a couple of portable refrigerators off a 100 amp hour battery. It's a great battery for camping.
Right.
And everybody plays radio differently. You play it. I like the emergency preparedness aspect of it. That's me. But I think for what you do, if you go out to a park and you're going to be on the air for 4 hours, after which I know I'm radioed out. After about 3-4 hours, I'm done. I like radio. I don't like it that much. I get tired. And so even with the FT 710s and the newer radios that suck down an amp or 2 amps on received current, 30 or 40 amp hours is all you need.
Yeah.
I've got a battery calculator for that very thing, which we didn't get into that either. It's basically what's your operating philosophy. I started out heavy, and I had 2 4800 Apache boxes and 4 duffel bags full of stuff. You remember that. We were communicating back then, and I had trimmed it down considerably. And you know what? My contact scores have not changed that much. Right now, my preferred station is a 12 amp hour lithium ferrous phosphate battery, a 100 watt solar panel, and a G90 Zygu. And that does very well. Of course, I'm using this man's antennas, and they work very well.
That's right.
I figured where to point this finger. Did I answer your question, Tracy?
I think you did a very good job of that, Philip.
Well,
different strokes, right?
Yes, exactly. Everybody plays radio differently.
That's right.
We didn't have time to go into a lot of your stuff, but you've got your own YouTube channel, right? Electromagetic Mischief. Yeah.
And it's I just broke the 500 subscriber barrier.
There you go. You're on your way.
And you write for QSL right, or QRP?
I've written a lot of articles. I've written about a bunch of articles for EHAM, the Dead Electrical Dude series. We did an article for CQ magazine and an article for 73 magazine. I've written quite a lot. You just type in my name, and it's got a lot of hits on it.
If
People
you're
seem to like
watching
my.
this, yep. If you're watching
We're up
this
to
right now,
513. All right.
look at that. If you're watching this now and you have not yet subscribed to Philip's channel, go on over. He does this cool antenna stuff. He's an engineer, so he's going to give you some background information that you might not see on other videos. And
I get to the
this
point.
anyway. To this point anyway, his videos are very short. You're not going to spend a lot of time watching them, but they're to the point, and I really appreciate that. So continued success in your channel, Philip.
Thank you. And Tim told me a few months back, people like the short format. You don't need the history of my life before I tell you what you want to tune in for.
The algorithm likes the short format too. That's the thing. Because you're not competing against other ham tubers for
mainly for family and friends. But I might want to take it up to the next notch.
Yeah, it's the algorithm you're fighting. He's in Northwest
Green
Georgia.
Hornet. Green Hornet, if you show up here in Chatham County or Bryan County, I'll buy you a steak for lunch, and that's a promise.
Woohoo!
I'm going to start my truck. Start heading down there now, man.
Yeah, we're gonna have a stampede down here.
Wait a minute, what? I never got
If somebody drives from Atlanta to come down here and see me because they want to see me and meet me, if they go to that amount of effort to come down here, I'm going to buy them a good lunch or dinner. That's just how I roll.
That's how he rolls.
I'm going to start my truck. I'm on my way.
That's how he rolls. Damn it.
Yeah.
Dadgummit, right? Hey, Rob, VE3PCP, he also has a YouTube channel, and he live streams on-air stuff. So be sure to go over and check that out. All right.
And Ham Radio Twitter too. You're on Twitter, right, Philip?
I have a Twitter. It's under my name. I have a Twitter. I post stuff there, post stuff here.
Ham Twitter is a fun place.
Say again?
I said Ham Twitter is a fun place.
Oh, yes.
Hey, look at your sub count. It's already up.
Ham Radio Twitter,
sub
man.
count already up.
Good stuff. Okay, I think we'll put a bow on it, guys. Let's go around the table. Final thoughts. Philip, start with you.
Everybody plays radio differently. Don't belittle somebody because they enjoy a different flavor. The main thing is to get out there and get on the air and try to learn something. Try to improve your skills.
Beautiful.
That's the short version.
Thank you.
Yep.
Chris.
Agree. I agree 110% with that. And Philip, great to meet you and have you on with us tonight. Had a lot of fun.
Likewise, Mr. Chris.
Tim.
I don't know. My head hurts. A lot of info.
Buy
more antennas.
Did you increase or decrease the dosage?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
We'll see. Buy more antennas. That's my thought.
All right.
Merry Christmas. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone too.
Yes.
Somebody had asked if we're doing a stream next month. I saw that on there.
Oh, yeah, we are definitely doing a stream next month. And Rob, VE3PCP, is going to be our guest, and we're going to talk remote radio. We're going to talk about some of that noble Skywave. That
sounds interesting.
Cool military exercise. Yeah, absolutely. So lots of interesting stuff to come on that. And look at those two babies that Philip's holding up there. We got some N9 SAB originals.
So that's actually, I've been wanting to do a 100-watt choke, and that's what I came up with.
I love it.
I haven't burned it up.
Yeah, if Philip hasn't broken it, it's probably okay.
Well, the ears on it are thicker. The ears on it are thicker. Look how thick the ears are.
Yeah, I went to thicker ears.
Heavy duty. I like it.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Impervious to moisture.
Okay. Tim, final words.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Good stuff. All right. And yeah, to all of our American friends, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Tracy, I appreciate the invite. I'm honored to visit with you on the air and on your channel. And thank you very much. And have a blessed Thanksgiving and Christmas.
You've been a great guest. Thank you very much for spending the time with us, Philip. We really appreciate it.
Data intensive. I like it. Maybe that's why my head.
Yeah.
I tried to cram too much in there.
Oh, I got a story just before we break. Richard, happy Thanksgiving at all. I'll be Santa at the JMU versus Marshall football game Saturday.
Wait, Marshall, Texas?
Oh, that is very cool. All right, good
I've
stuff.
been there.
It's time to go. I got to wrap this up. A long day, and thank you to everybody who tuned in live. Thank you to everybody who is watching as this is a recording of this. We really appreciate your support through this, and looking forward to re-engaging with everybody next month. 7-3, folks.